morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Keys and Coffee. I am Bradley Resnick with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Key Realty.
And I am Lauren Gillerin from Mortgage One.
And this morning on Keys and Coffee, we are going to be talking about what we see in the market, what the market trends are these days, maybe even what to do if you're thinking about getting into the market, whether it's purchasing a home or selling a home. We've got a couple different things that we can talk to about today. First, I would start off by, for me, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of agents, including some people where we work out of this office, starting to pull some listings for the holidays.
Yep.
But I think right now, if you're a buyer, it's probably a great time to be getting in on some of these homes with the competition being low, probably being able to get into a house for a better price. What are you seeing like on the mortgage side?
I would agree. I mean, it is, as much as I'd like to say it's a buyer's market, I think there are still some challenges for buyers. I mean, I see a lot of people writing offers and, writing their best offer and hoping it sticks, and it doesn't stick. But then there are others that are, it's really, I wish I could say there was a rhyme or reason to what I'm seeing, but I don't feel that there necessarily is.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we're starting to see more listings. I do think that they're like, I think that there's more listings out there now than there was even a few months ago.
Would you say you're getting more or less people trying to get pre-approved right now?
There's still a good amount of people trying to buy. We pre-approve more than, it's just a matter of them finding houses and getting those offers accepted, and what it takes to get those offers accepted. So I think that's the biggest challenge right now in the market. But I think that the inventory problem isn't necessarily as much of a problem as it was as of recently.
I agree. In fact, I'm starting to see even more inventory come up on the market.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, how that's going to translate. I know this is, as I mentioned before, this is a tougher time in the year where like I said, some people are starting to pull some of their listings, but you're also seeing a lot of people putting up their listings. People want to get into a home before the holidays. People want to, at the very least, people want to be able to purchase a home for the holidays. Or some people are trying to get rid of their home before the holidays to free up money or free up, so they can get into their new place in the spring.
I would agree. I'm sorry. I do see, I'm seeing more listings. It's just a matter of getting in what it takes to get into the house, that threshold, that barrier threshold of getting in. So
I would almost urge people right now, if you're seriously thinking about purchasing a home, to get a pre-approval right now.
Oh yeah.
Because right now,
get started.
If you see something in the market, or maybe you are working with a good enough realtor who has taken some listings off of the market with the intention of putting them back on in the beginning of the year. So if you're working with a smart realtor who knows a bunch of other agents, they may have a house or a condo that's perfect for you that they just took off market.
Yep.
They're still going to field offers and see showings on those homes. So you
Absolutely.
can get in and probably get a really good deal on that, because, from the mortgage side,
you're not fighting a whole lot of competition if it's not been listed either. So you're dealing with that. You have a better chance of getting in that home automatically and that's what the benefit of having an agent that knows somebody that, I know within this office we have, in our office meetings we go around, what do you have, what do you need? Everyone communicates. People have things that are coming up, people have things that have coming off, like he said, came off. Agents communicate with each other in order to find the best, what their clients need and what best fits them. So I definitely think keeping in touch with an agent and getting pre-approved. Get pre-approved now. Even if you're thinking about springtime, if you don't anticipate anything changing between now and then, what will it hurt for you to understand what your actual buying power is now versus waiting till the last minute when you find the perfect house and now you're scrambling to vet all your lenders and find, get all your paperwork to, it's a lot. So I would say getting a pre-approval now sets you up for the new year, sets you up for springtime when things hopefully we'll see more and more inventory on the market. So,
and you can get pre-approved for a home and make an offer and a purchase on a home. And if you're working with good people, one of the things that you can do is, let's say it is November and you're like, oh, I really want to buy this house, but I'm not going to be ready to move in until February or March. So if you're working with someone who can help you out and knows those little tricks and trades of the business, then they can even write something that has to do with your occupancy. We want to make a purchase on this house, but we don't want to make occupancy until February or, March, whenever it is that you're trying to move in.
Yeah.
And you can get all that pre-approved and work it out with your lender as well. What are you going to have to pay while you've closed on that house? Maybe there's some rent things or other different types of things that can go in place of some of the things to do. But I think it's a wise decision.
I would agree.
To get pre-approved, and if you see a house that you like, ask your realtor.
Knowing what you're good for, knowing what your buying power is gives you the upper hand in so many situations. And if you're working with an agent, like he said, these pocket listings, these, they're there. I mean, we went through this year has shown that trends are hard to spot. I mean, I see things all over the board and all over the spectrum. And I think a lot of us lenders do. I'll get a deal in a day that's got, it's over 10,000 over asking, and in an hour later I'll get a deal that's got 10,000 in seller concessions. So there's no rhyme or reason as to what is what's actually happening in the market. It fluctuates constantly. So, but knowing that, having your ducks in a row is going to make you a much stronger candidate and a much more qualified buyer. And your buying power is truly in your hands. That way, you stay in touch with your lender. I mean, you keep things, if something does change, you keep things updated with them on their end. When the time comes and you find that house that is for you, you're ready to roll. That's the biggest benefit, I think, to getting started ahead of time. Because you don't want to be behind.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm actually even fielding calls right now from a few people that I've had calls from this week that are currently living in trailer parks, and they want to get out of there. Whether it's because their rent was increased or they're adding money for some other fixing, whether it's we're going to start charging $50 on sheds and garages or whatever, because trailer parks do that.
Yeah, it does.
So the one I fielded today, she was like, my budget is only $150,000. I'm looking for a condo. I know I have a high credit score, but you can tell me all this information. She may think she can only afford $110,000, $120,000. With the right lender, though, you may be able to afford more with a better payment. So, if being a lender, if let's say I bring you this client that I spoke with,
sure,
what would you advise her to do, especially this time of year where we're at with the current market and trends as far as getting a mortgage?
I mean, getting out of if costs are exceeding where she needs to be, where she's at currently, it's definitely worth exploring your options as to what you can buy. And I mean, condos are, like you mentioned, condos do significantly lower your buying power, if you will, or how much you're willing to, or how much you're capable of purchasing, because you have to qualify with your HOA dues. And HOA dues nowadays are not they're not $150, $175. I rarely see that. They're $300, $400, $500 a month. which chips away. It's a big part of your debt to income ratio. So, I mean, I would tell her to take a look, give me a call. I actually just spoke with an agent in this office that has a similar situation. She's trying to get out of this trailer park. She doesn't want to rent again. She thinks that she can try to buy. So I have a conversation scheduled with her later today. So we'll see just how much buying power she actually has. But she's trying to get her ducks in a row before it's too late, before she's got to pull the trigger and her lease is up and she's got to figure something out. Having all of this, in line before you ultimately make that jump is imperative. It really is.
One of the other things that I'm seeing a lot of price drops on homes too. Mm-hmm. So, in my opinion,
speaks to that. I say there's no rhyme or reason. Some houses are going like that. Right. Other ones are sitting, and you're seeing them.
And in the summer, I think people get a little advantageous, and they want to price their home on, not necessarily unrealistic, but maybe a little high for the amount of competition that happens in the summertime.
Yeah.
So what I think I'm actually seeing right now is these price cuts on these homes are coming to a much more realistic and conservative price to attract more buyers during this time.
Yeah. What I've also, and I will speak to this, we've also been, talking about is an alternative to that, which would be a buy down. Mm. Some sellers are willing to do a 2-1 or a 1-0 buy down, which helps temporarily reduce your interest rate for the first year or two of your mortgage, which is a huge buyer incentive.
Can you explain to our listeners what a 1 and 2 down is?
Basically, the seller would subsidize the difference between a fully amortized rate and you would buy the rate down to, how do I explain this in the simplest way? At a 2-1 buy down, a seller would buy the rate down 2 points the first year and 1 point the second year. They subsidize that out of the cost of selling that home. So what I've been promoting this with the agents in the office that are contemplating another price drop, it might be worth it to take a look at a buy down, because a buy down ultimately is the same thing out of a seller nets out the same. It's no different to a seller's net out. However, it's a huge incentive to a buyer. If you can get a rate 2% lower than the going rate today, that's substantial. Speaking
of which, you just were kind of talking about the rates today, and I figure our listeners, one thing they really are going to want to know, what are the rates right now? What are they looking at? What are you? Because me as a realtor, what I am looking at, and I always tell people, the time to buy or sell is right now. Because while they may be at this number and you may be waiting them to get to that number, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. The rate train could get hit by a bus and they could skyrocket.
It's true. And I hesitate throwing rates around because I think that it is specific to everyone's individual profile. I mean, if there's some programs you qualify that come, every program has its caveats. It is difficult to say. I mean, it's
would you say the overall trend is starting to decrease, or is it still kind of hovering?
We're still hovering.
Hovering.
Everyone got excited. The feds did speak, but the feds, when they're getting ready to speak and they are anticipating a drop, there is a certain amount of padding that they will, that they do to protect themselves before going into these conversations and talks and before making these big announcements. So you'll see a slight adjustment, but it was built in artificially before, I guess.
For sure.
So,
and sometimes I always kind of tell my clients when the rates are either hovering or they're at a higher number and they're wanting to come down, I always kind of urge my clients that now is the best time. When they're higher, they might not have enough they might not enough, but they might not have a whole lot of competition on the house that they're trying to buy.
Yeah.
You know, where
that's the same thing we talked about last week.
Right. So what would you recommend? So, I want the rates to come down. I know what I tell them to do.
We say it all the time.
But I stay in my lane and I try to have
marry the house, date the rate. I mean, if rates do come down, which I mean, no one knows what will happen, but I'll say if they come down, you know, and the chance to refinance is possible, you can't do that if you don't have a property. And it's going to be that much more difficult if you're in the race with, you know, right now you may be in the race against 20 other borrowers. When rates drop substantially to the point where it makes sense to refinance at that point, if you have a property, now you're 1 in 400 buyers. So that's where you talked about it, like getting into bidding wars and having to make compromises and sacrifices that you may not want to do, you know. I mean, so I think it's marry the house, date the rate. If the rate's what's holding you back, figure out a price point that you're comfortable with, and you can stay in that range of, like, you know, that purchase price and that range that fits what you want for your payment. And knowing that your payment, you know, your taxes are going to go up the year after you purchase it, which, as I've said, I always do my best to project that out. But yeah, I would say if you're hung up on rates today as a buyer, I mean, if it truly is putting you out of the threshold you want to be in, then maybe waiting is your best bet. But I do think if there's a house that comes along that checks every single box, and you don't want it, you're holding off because you think you can, you know, maybe come down 0.25%. Is that worth it in the long run?
Is that worth you not being able to get that house that...
Right. Is that house going to come up next spring?
I had a similar situation, just exactly what you're talking about, with a client who was in love with a house. But it was on her street. She actually wanted to move into that house and sell her house. And she's like, oh no, my credit's not great. You know, I want the interest rates to come down. And then when she was finally ready, and I tried to get her to put an offer on the house, but you know, she just wasn't ready, and that's totally okay.
Yep.
I'm not here to push anybody.
I'm not a pushy one either.
But I wanted to advise her that when you're ready, this house might not be on the market.
That's true. That's a risky
run. For a
run.
multitude of reasons. Either they decided not to sell, or they found a buyer. So when that house came back up on the market, and she's like, I'm ready to see, you know, is that house still available? I looked, and it wasn't available for her anymore. And
that happens.
The rates, you know, were still around the same time when were right around the same rate than when she initially told me that she liked this house.
Yeah.
And then when it went back on the sale, they're still right around the same amount, and she didn't get the house because she waited too long.
I've dealt with buyers that are very conservative. I dealt with buyers over a span of time. Let's say one in couple in particular, which were amazing. But I worked with them for 3 years, and the difference in where rates went after 3 years. I mean, I was crunching numbers for them constantly, and they ended up at a much higher rate than when we started initially talking. Mm-hmm. It made sense to them at that point, but it does go to show you how, I mean, if you really do drag your feet, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And inevitably they ended up with a higher rate than they would have if they pulled the trigger 2 years before then. But caveat to that, none of the houses, they either couldn't get the house they wanted, or, you know, they couldn't lock down the offer, or there wasn't something out there that really checked every box and, you know, tickled their fancy, if you will. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to see, like, the market. It's hard to put your finger on exactly.
It's kind of like Tasmanian devil-y right now. It's kind of going like blah, 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 like kind of all over the place. I've seen ups and downs, like at a time where we are usually slowing down and taking things. We're fielding more calls about listings than I was a month ago.
And I mean, we're still pre-approving people every day. These calls don't stop. I mean, people are willing to, and which is the smart move. Like we're suggesting now, it's wise to figure out what your purchase power is before you go out there and start looking. Because like we said last week, it's very hard to have your mindset on, well, I think we could go for $300,000. Come to find out, you're looking at $260,000.
Right.
Well, even though that doesn't seem like a huge difference, the difference in when you go to see those houses, the difference in a $260,000 to a $300,000 house is significant. Mm-hmm. And it may be tough for you to fall in love with that house, and then you'll be in that cycle of, you know, should we should we not?
Right.
Is this going to be worth it? It's
and
hard.
Having that, you know, that communication with your lender, who has that good relationship with the realtor, especially in this time of now. If you are working, you need a dynamic duo.
Yeah,
Lauren and I are a dynamic duo. We will take care of you, and we will make sure that all your needs are met, and that you're not getting yourself into something that you shouldn't be getting into. While we will stay in our lanes and know where we belong, we will listen to you and give you the advice that you ask us for, because we work for you.
Yeah.
I have noticed my coffee cup is empty. I'm gonna have to fill up and actually get some work done today. But before we leave you today on Keys and Coffee, I want to leave you with a final thought first, join us next Tuesday and every Tuesday for Keys and Coffee. Next Tuesday's topic, we kind of touched on a little bit about today, is the slow period. As a buyer, as a seller, as a realtor, and as a mortgagor, we are going to be talking about what to do to prepare yourself for the Realtor Spring, which starts in like end of January, mid-February, how to prepare yourself for that, how to get yourself ready by talking to a mortgagor or a realtor, and to prepare yourself to be a home buyer.
Yeah.
Before we sign off, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave our viewers today?
I just think, you know, don't get hung up on the rate. I mean, they're hovering at a decent, we're in a good spot right now. Chances they could come down, they could. I mean, we don't know, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But even if you're hesitant, even if that's holding you back, call me. Get in touch with us. Find out what your purchase power looks like, so that you could have an idea if you're just scrolling on Zillow, you know, over the holidays, and you want to see what's going to be coming up on the market, or you know exactly where your threshold is, mm-hmm. and you know all your numbers in advance, and you're more prepared than a lot of people out there that are just trying to, you know, throw mud on the wall and hope it sticks.
I agree. And my final thought to you to be today, wow, I could not speak very well there. I apologize.
It's okay, you need more coffee.
Yep, well, coffee is running through my veins a little too quickly, I think. So I'm starting to sound like the Micro Machine guy a little bit. But my final thought to you guys would be, listen, if you are thinking about it, just thinking about doing something next year, get yourself prepared. Come and see me. And if you see something that you are in love with, come and talk to me. This is the greatest time to do something. As always, I will tell you, is right now. And Laura and I, we will tag team this thing for you and get you either into the home that you want, or I will help you sell the home that you are trying to get rid of. So please, you can follow us here on Facebook, or you can contact me at bradleyresnickrealtor@gmail.com. And so for your Tuesday edition of Keys and Coffee, my name is Bradley Resnick.
My name is Lauren Gillerin.
Have a great day.